everybody, Lori here from Unique in the Creek. All right, here it is. Yes, so it's $24.99 American, $34 Canadian. Okay, let's get started. So I have put in the description what I'm going to be doing. So I'll just go over this quickly with you. So the mesh, we're going to cut 8 pieces of this mesh at 24 inches. And then you're going to cut 8 pieces of the mesh at 16 inches. Okay, so that's the mesh. 8 at 24, 8 at 16. You'll have a little bit left over, but we're going to use most of the roll. Okay, for ribbon tails, which are these really pretty tails coming out of our wreath, we are going to cut 16, hello everybody, 16 of this ribbon at 14 inches and 16 of this ribbon at 14 inches. I love this ribbon. And then for the bow, we'll do the bow afterwards. We're not going to use a bow maker. We're going to just do a bow, which I like to call cheater bows. But for those the cheater bow, we're going to cut 5 pieces of this ribbon at 16 inches, 5 pieces of this ribbon at 16 inches, and we're going to cut 1 long piece of each at 24 inches. Okay, so like I said, we'll do the bow at the end. I need to cut 6 of each of these ribbon tails still. So I'm going to use my Measure Buddy. You can use your cutting mat to cut 14-inch tails. You can use a ruler, like a measuring tape, whatever you have. You need to cut 16 at 14 inches. So I'm going to use my Measure Buddy. I'm going to pull out number 1 all the way to 14. Okay, so you'll see the number 14 and it's 1-inch increments. And to finish off my wreath, I need 6 more of these. So I'm just going to put the end of my ribbon. I'm just going to hold it with my thumb. Now there is a clip that goes in here. You can use the clip to hold your ribbons while you wrap. I have been using this exact same Measure Buddy for over 4 years and I have no idea where my clips went. So I just use my thumb. So we got 1, and take your ribbon, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so I'm going to cut 6. You're going to need a total of 16. I've already cut some of mine. Cut the ends where it's folded. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of that one. And then we need 6 of the black. Okay, so now we're going to dovetail the ends of these ribbons. So I got 3 together. And I'm going to fold it lengthwise in half. From the folded half to the outside corner, you're going to cut. And it's going to give you that nice V shape. Okay. All right. So I'm going to fold these in half. Now I'm going to build this wreath like I'm explaining it to beginners, like people that have never made a wreath in their life. Once you have your ribbons cut for your tails, then there's the mesh. Like I said, we're going to do 8 pieces of 24-inch mesh. You can cut your mesh as you're going, or you can cut it all at one time and just pile it up. So the 24-inch mesh is going to be for the outside. Okay, this is for the outside row. So what you're gonna do, and like I said, what I'm gonna do right now, you're gonna do to the every other hole on row 1. Okay, so the ring board consists of 2 circumference of rows. So we call this hole 1, 1.5, and 2. And there is actual numbers on the board. So you can refer when I say, you know, we're using hole 1 to the outside of the board, you'll be able to refer to the numbers, okay? So on row 1 to the outside of the board, you're going to do every other. You can use pipe cleaners. You've seen Jackie Blewett do it several times. We all have preference. I prefer zip ties because I like that nice clean back. Okay, isn't that beautiful? Very professional looking. So I like to use zip ties and keep everything clean. And the gray zip ties actually are the exact same color as the board. So it makes it really professional looking. Okay, so I got my 24-inch piece of mesh. Okay, I am just going to make a simple ruffle. So I am just going to turn it over so it's curled down. I put my scissors on top. All right, and luckily this mesh has an actual center line. We're just going to, with our thumb and our forefingers, pinch up that center line and make a pleat. So you get your thumb and your forefinger and pinch. Okay, you want that cut edge down at the bottom. Then you're going to take your forefinger and bring it and slide it to the middle again and make a pleat or a pinch. So there's 2, 3. You're just going to go right down the center line, gathering up that mesh right down the center. Of course, you don't want to do this on a tablecloth because you'll gather your tablecloth. And then when you come to the end, again, when we pleat that in, we want to make sure that this cut edge is facing the table. So I'm going to bring that right in, and there we go. Don't let go of the center. So we got this nice bow tie formation. Okay. I'm going to put the center where I am pinching. I'm going to put it right on the board in between hole 1 to the outside of the board where my zip tie is. Okay, so you're going to take the center, just place it down right on the board, and then we're going to come around with our zip tie and do it up. Now when you're doing your zip tie up, you want to have your tail facing the flat part of the zip tie head. And when you face the flat part, you'll hear a zipping sound. That's what you want to hear. If it slides through and you don't hear that zipping sound, you probably got your zip tie in backwards. Okay, now what I like to do is I like to take the very last pleat towards the center and I kind of fold it down to the board. And what that does is brings my ruffle to the outside of my board or my wreath frame, right? And makes a nice like frame around my board. Okay, so by just taking that last pleat, facing it down towards the board, and then do your zip tie up nice and tight. Okay, so you're going to put your mesh in just like that on every other hole. So right here, then you skip, here, skip, here, skip. So you got 8 24-inch pieces around the outside of the board from hole 1 to the outside of the board. Okay, and then you're going to go and just clip off your zip tie tails. Okay, just use old pair of scissors. Don't use your good scissors. Okay, once you got all your 8 pieces of mesh on, then we're going to go over that same zip tie. just bring it down on hole 1 to the outside of the board again. And now we're going to put some ribbon tails in. Okay, so you're going to open up your glittered Harlequin, pink and lime, so pretty. Then you're also going to open up your black leather looking ribbon tail. So you'll see a crease where I folded it. That is the center. Then I'm going to take my black one with the center right there and just kind of corner it or do a slight X. So it's this one's straight and then the black one is just kind of like a slight X, just like that. All right, and now I'm just going to pinch from the bottom right up the center where and then bring the top in. Okay, just like that. Okay, and then I'm going to flip that up. And when you make that slight X, you can see that your ribbon tails will make a pattern. And if you do every single ribbon tail like that, you don't have to worry about pulling out your ribbon tails. It's going to be the same every time. So if you can see this neighboring one, it's got the glitter, black, glitter, black. Same with the next one, glitter, black, glitter, black. And I didn't have to like pull them apart and organize them because I've already done that by just crossing it just a bit. So then you're going to take where you've pinched, put it right on top of your piece of mesh and that other zip tie and come around and you're going to do that up. Okay, just like that. And it'll stay in that pattern. Okay, and then do it up and then we're going to cut that tail off. Now when you get a little bit more advanced, obviously you can do your mesh and your ribbon tails with one zip tie. And then we've skipped this whole row. We're going to this next row. I put my mesh in. That's the 24-inch piece. Again, I'm going to go put a zip tie down hole 1 and it's just resting on the table. I'm going to take it one of my glitter Harlequin, my black. Again, you have a crease in the crease of the center. We're just going to slightly make an X like that. Okay. Pinch from the bottom to the center, pinch from the top to the center, flip it up, and again, your ribbon tails are already in your pattern. Then you're just going to take your ribbon tail, put it on top, and come around with your zip tie. Okay, so once row 1 is done, we're going to go and start working on row 2. And row 2 is the 16-inch pieces of mesh. So where I'm going to go with a zip tie is wherever we didn't use a zip tie on row 1, we're going to do a zip tie from hole 2 to the inside of the board. So there's on the outside, and then this middle one. We didn't put any mesh, so we're going to be using that inner part. So you're going to take a zip tie, hole 2 to the inside of the board, and we're going to mimic what we did on row 1. Except we're going to be using 16-inch, and we don't need as much mesh on row 2 because the holes are much closer together. Okay, so I'm going to cut a piece of 16-inch. So you can use a rotary cutter, scissors, however you need to cut your mesh. And this time I'm going to do a kerfuffle. I don't want a ton of bulk on the inner row because we're going to be putting a bow and the sign and everything. I don't want a ton of bulk. So to do that, you're going to do a kerfuffle, which is curl up. Curl up means I open it, and if I let go, it curls up, right? Okay. Curl up. I'm going to take the bottom and I'm going to bring it about halfway up, and it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to take the top and bring it about halfway down to match the bottom there. Okay, so it's kind of like an envelope shape. And then I'm going to pinch right up that center line. Okay, so it still makes a ruffle, it's just a flatter ruffle. Flip it over because I don't want to see any of the cut edges. I'm going to flip it over. I'm just going to move these ribbons just out of the way. And where you pinched in the center, you're just going to put it right on the board and come around with your zip tie. Okay, again, I like to flip down towards the board, that very last pleat. Pull your zip tie, and I pull the head towards me so it's not sticking out. Okay, so you're going to do every other. So we're going to skip here because we did do a ruffle here. So this will be the next one right here. "16" curl up, bring the bottom up about halfway, top down. Like I said, with the lines, it's easy to figure out the center. You're just going to pinch it up at the center, flip it over, and put it on the board and come around with the zip tie. You were late for a very important date. There we go. Pull it tight and snip it off. Okay, and now we're going to do ribbons. I'm going to take, again, come around. Again, we're going to do the exact same thing with the ribbons. Again, we're going to pinch to the center from the bottom, pinch to the center from the top, flip it up. Okay, we're going to put this down again. It's still keeping that same pattern with our tails. Come around. Now I like to fix the tails before I completely tighten my zip tie. Make sure they're folded the right way. All right, and then I pull my zip tie with the head kind of facing backwards. So we can push it down. Now I'm going to take this black ribbon and just kind of shimmy it, and this will kind of hide the zip tie. Bring the neighboring ones back down. And again, this is if you are more of a, not a newbie, you absolutely can use just one zip tie. But I like to use two, even though I definitely can use one. I like to use two because then I'm not struggling. I'm not struggling with my mesh or my ribbons or anything. And in total, we're only using 32 zip ties. Oh, put it in backwards. If you want to use pipe cleaners, you can absolutely just twist them in. Like I said, I like the zip ties. It takes a little bit longer, but I like the end result. How it's very neat and tidy and professional looking, and I'm not having to cut off any pipe cleaner ends or anything like that. All right, there we go. We are done with our tails. There we go. Oh, it's big. Okay, that's our base. That's the back of our, look how nice and neat that is. Make sure all our, go around and make sure all our mesh on the outside row is not stuck, so it makes it look like it's a much bigger wreath. So the frame is 15 inches, and this base, when we put the tails and the mesh on, we got 26 inches. So we added 10 inches by just doing those ruffles going towards the outside of the board. Okay, so it's less than a roll of mesh we did, less than a roll of 10-inch mesh, and it's pretty thin. Okay, I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to put a hanger. So right up here, you'll see 2 holes in between row where it says 1 and 2. These 2 divoted holes are our hanging holes. You're just going to take a zip tie, go down 1 hole, and I got my fingers down there to push it up the other. There we go. It makes a nice, neat hanger to hang your wreath. Okay, and when, of course, if you're selling this, you're going to put a sticker or put a business card, tape it to the back, or even write your Etsy store with a Sharpie marker on the back. So whoever buys it can tell their friends where to buy theirs. Okay, so now we're going to put the sign on, and what I'm thinking is I'm going to put the sign kind of over here to the side like that, and then we're going to do a nice bow just on this side. Now this is a 10-inch sign. We could just put it right in the center like that, but I already made one that looks similar to that, so I wanted to try something different than just putting the sign in the center. Like I said, you can do that. Just put the sign in the center, put a hole at the top, hole at the bottom, put pipe cleaners in, and zip tie it to the center. You can either use cable mounts for your sign or punch holes. Now, I haven't done this in a while on live, but I'm going to show you. This is a metal. You have to have a metal hole punch. You can get them fairly cheap on Amazon. I believe I have one in this actual one in Lori's Tools. They're not expensive whatsoever, but it has to say metal, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop 2 holes, one at the top and one at the bottom. So I'm going to line up my sign to make sure, because it is a 10-inch sign. So right at the 5-inch there, I'll pop a hole. Just put a little, make sure it's straight. So with just a marker, I just put a little Sharpie thing, and then you're gonna poke a small hole. Make sure it's straight. Yeah, it's straight. Very easy, very tiny, but it literally is the perfect way to attach your sign with not worrying about your sign falling off, okay? So I'm going to put a pipe cleaner through the hole here. At the top. Put another one at the bottom. Now, if you don't have a hole punch and you do buy the kit, you do get a table mount in the kit that you can put right in the center and put it onto your wreath, and you can pop a little bit of hot glue under that'll attach it to the ribbon and mesh. Okay, so you need to find the top. So where the hanger is the top. And I'm going to have my sign right over this side, and then I'm going to do a bow coming right here. So I'm going to take this and I'm just going to kind of go through. I'm going to go through the mesh down through the holes. And when I'm finish this, I will flip it over so you guys can see where I've gone with my sign. Okay, so I'm gonna give it a light twist on the back, not tight because we need to do the bottom. So far, there's the center. I went 1, 2 over, and then from the bottom, I'm gonna go 1, 2 over. That's where the bottom pipe cleaner is going to go, right there. Okay, so this is where my sign is going to go. And I will flip it over so you guys can see where I went. Let's flip that over. So again, there's the center, 1, 2, that's the top. There's the center bottom, 1, 2, okay? And then I'm going to kind of pull till I feel some resistance a bit, and then give it a twist. Same with the top one, pull, give it a twist. And there we go. Alrighty. So that is our sign. And of course, you can put your sign wherever you want. But now we're going to make a bow. Okay, we're going to make a bow to go right about here with some long tails, but we're not going to use a for the bow. I had indicated making 5 pieces, cut 5 pieces of each of the ribbon at 16 inches and 1 piece of each of the ribbon at 24. Okay, so let's cut the 24. This 24 inch will be the tail. And you'll see what we're going to do with this. Of course, if you have a bow maker, you can definitely use your bow maker and make whatever bow you want. But these are my long tails. And then I'm going to cut, like I said, 5 pieces of ribbon at 16 inches of each. So I'm going to pull out number 1 all the way to 14, and number 2, it'll say 16. So from here to here is 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this is the long 24-inch piece. I'm going to fold it in half. We're going to dovetail the end of this. And we're going to do the same thing for the black 24-inch. Fold it in half, dovetail it. centers, and there we go. We're just going to put that to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to make our bow. So you're going to take one of your pieces of the glitter Harlequin, okay, flip it over, and you're going to take the end. I'm going to line my end up at the 10-inch here. So take the end, bring it from 10, fold it over, line it up to 20. All right, now we're going to do the same thing with the black. I'm going to flip it over till the edge hits the 20. I'm going to put that on top of that. I'm going to do one of these again. Flip it. The end is at the 20. Put that on top. So obviously we're going to do all these just like that. Alternating the two different ribbons. Again, if you have a bow maker and you have you have a favorite bow you like to make, absolutely do that. I'm just doing this for those of you that may not have a bow maker. You can still make really pretty fun bows without a bow maker. Okay, so we've piled all these up. I'm making sure the ends of these are all the same. So I'll just pile it up like that. Okay, so I've alternated black or glitter, black, okay, all the way. Then we're going to get a zip tie and a pipe cleaner. Okay, I'm going to slide that zip tie right underneath. All of them are the same length. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a zip tie about 1/4 of an inch up from here. Just pinch that. And then we're going to bring a zip tie around. Just like that. Don't do it tight up yet, okay? But it's nice and stacked, right? So these are going to be our loops, and these are going to be some tails going towards the top. The bad side, we're going to just tighten this up. Okay, these are the bow loops, and then these are going to be the tails. So what we're going to do is I'm going to dovetail each one of these tails. And if you have other ribbons, you can incorporate some other ribbons into your bow if you want. But I'm just using what I have here. All right, so our tails are all dovetailed. Okay, now I'm going to have these tails kind of at the top. So what you're going to do is we're going to fan out these tails. Okay, so just like that. straightened out, just like that, right? All right, and now we're gonna open these loops. I'll just bring it up. Do this zip tie, cut that off. Open this all up. Now this glitter ribbon's fairly stiff. That's why it looks like I'm kind of struggling. It's only because it's a very stiff ribbon. Oops. I don't pull it right out of the zip tie, Laura. Put that back in. Okay. It'll be easier to fluff the bow once it's on the actual board. And I'm going to go around that zip tie. Okay, when my loops are opened, I'm going to take a pipe cleaner. I'm going to take a black one. I'm just going to go around the zip tie. And then I'm going to incorporate these tails. So this is that 24-inch piece. I'm just going to put the black right on top of the glitter, pinch it in the middle, and we'll flip it over because this is the good side and right now our bow. And then that pipe cleaner will be used as well to attach it to the board. It looks funny right now. Just trust the process, bear with me. Okay, these are those long tails. Okay, and we're going to fix all this once we get it on the board. So I'm going to put, we want the tails. Actually, I could probably have made the tails even longer if you want to use up the rest of your ribbon. I made the tails at 24 inches. I could have probably did the tails at 36 inches so you could have longer loopy tails. I wasn't sure how much ribbon I would have left. Okay. Flip it over. There's the center. Maybe right there. So there's the center. So 1, 2 to the left. And that looks good. And go down through the mesh again. Again, if you do have a bow maker, it is much easier to make bows with a bow maker, or if you can make hand bows. Not everybody has it, so I tried different ways to show you guys how to make a bow without all the fancy tools. Out of the loop, but if I had glued it, it wouldn't have come out. I shouldn't have stopped while I was, there we go. So you can see where I went. There's the center top. I went 1, 2 over, that's where my bow is. Okay, and then we're going to start pulling the tails that we cut. And they're kind of at the top here, so just spread them out. And look how full, nice bow. without a bow maker. That wasn't too bad. Like I said, if you are going to make it like this and you do have a little bit of like some hot glue, put a little dab of hot glue where we folded it over. And that way, when you go to pull these loops open, it's not going to come out. Mine came out, I just dovetailed them. Give this a nice curl. You take your 2 fingers and pull it up, it curls it really, really nice. Like that. You can do the same with your glitter one. There we go. We used, I have to put a little bit of hot glue under my sign over here. There we go. All ready to go. Even though I fluffed, we're going to clean up the back. So we want to make sure it stays nice and professional looking. So once you're happy with everything, cut down the pipe cleaners so they are not sticking out and there's nothing to scratch anybody's door. And it looks nice and clean. Okay, there's the back. And there's the front, and of course I have to fix my bow again. I love this bow though. It looks super cool with all the tails coming out the top and then the loops and then the longer tails. I think it looks great. All right, everybody, thanks again for watching me, and I will post a picture of it when it's done. All right, bye, everybody.